Hello, folks. Welcome back to The Upside. We're in for episode 5 today. I'm staying kind of true to it's a solo episode today. It is just me, myself, and I. I'm staying true to the whole kind of like not having anything really prepared. I'm kind of have a rough idea of what I want to talk about a little bit, and I'm just gonna go with the flow on that front. First off, before I get into that, I want to take this opportunity to basically just thank anyone that's actually taken the time out of their day to sit down and just watch and listen to me ramble. The sort of main objective with like starting the whole podcast kind of thing was, as like cliche as it might be, I just wanted it to have like a little bit of a positive impact. I'm not looking for anything really necessarily from it. And I've had like three really in-depth conversations with pretty awesome people, which I'm very grateful for. But also just the response that I got from that first episode was wild. I wasn't really, it kind of surpassed my, not expectations as such, but just it seemed to just have a little bit more of a spread or a reach, should I say, than I first thought. And I was, as I said, the main objective of this was just to have like a positive impact on as many lives as I can, and just, I don't know, it's just another platform to get onto. And then after that first episode, I was very moved and emotional at times after some of the kind of messages I was getting, not just from clients that I currently work with or people that I know I've engaged with, interacted with, but also just random people that have maybe commented on the video over YouTube, or people that have like then followed me on Instagram and messaged me. There's people that I have never interacted with then messaging me saying that they've taken something positive from that. And even though this is like the 5th episode in, it's not exactly anything massive. It's not exactly blown up. It's easily one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done. As I said, I kind of just want to, like, my main sort of mission in life, which is what I kind of want to go on and talk a little bit more about, is to have just a positive influence in as many lives as I possibly can. And getting that kind of feedback after that first episode in terms of just, I don't know, either people having like a little bit of a kick up the arse, or just having a little bit of reassurance that there's maybe someone else that's felt the same way they currently do or have done, or just, I don't know, being moved by it. It provided me with a level of fulfillment that I've never really experienced. It's kind of a big reason as to why I do what I do for a living in terms of coaching. I first became a personal trainer, first became a coach because when I was giving people advice and helping them get into shape, it was, as selfish as it might sound, making me feel a hell of a lot better about myself and providing me with a high level of fulfillment as well. And then seeing those messages just after that one episode, again, just me sort of talking about the kind of person that I was, it was moving. It was a little bit emotional, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to, I guess, have this opportunity to be in a position where I can spread positivity and I can be a positive influence. So yeah, thank you for everyone that's taken the time to actually sit down and, as I said, watch and listen to me ramble. What I wanted to speak a little bit about is I had kind of going back to the whole like fulfillment and validation side of things. I've had so many conversations over the past couple of weeks about, and it's more stemmed from things that I've been saying on social media or just from things that have been said in the podcast, whether it was my solo one or the one with Erin, Rob and Andy. And it's more just that feeling stuck, feeling lost, and feeling like there's no direction. And it's conversations I've had with people that are maybe in their 20s, 30s, 40s and above. I don't think there's really an age limit. I think a large percentage of the population feel like this, where it's not like a rat race lifestyle, but just a like maybe work a job that you aren't entirely like excited about or enjoy, to pay bills, to then, I don't know, it could be looking after your family, which is fantastic, or just maybe coasting through life, etc. But I think this is where a lot of people kind of get caught up, where they just don't see an out. They feel stuck in a life that's just like a never-ending cycle. And these conversations I've been having have resonated with me, and it's something that I can definitely relate to in terms of how I felt for the vast majority of my life, probably until about maybe two years ago. It was just a case of I was working in hospitality for the majority of my life. I didn't dislike it. I definitely didn't enjoy it. I didn't see a future in it, but it was one of these things where I felt stuck in it because I didn't have anywhere else to go. I had bills to pay. I had obviously outgoings, etc. I was in debt at the time as well. So I felt trapped and stuck in a job that I did not enjoy. Maybe that's a bit strong. I didn't see a future in it. So it just felt like a never-ending sort of cycle, and it made me scared for the future, because the thought of being then in my 30s, 40s, 50s, being in that same position terrified me. And this is kind of leading on to the conversations I've been having, where it's really easy for me to sit here and say to someone like, just, quit and then look at something that you want to do, etc. Ultimately, the majority of people have a family that they need to feed and bills to pay and things like that. So there is a certain compromise where you might just need to fucking suck it up a little bit and do something you might not necessarily enjoy or like, just to sort of get by. However, there's also an accountability factor here, where you need to look at how you're spending these moments of free time in terms of what are you prioritizing. Because I think a lot of people sort of prioritize maybe rest, relaxing, and I guess having that chilled downtime, which again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. But then if that's the case, where any kind of free pockets of time you have, whether it's like weekends or whatever it might be, if those pockets of time in those days and those evenings off are going towards just you watching Netflix or just chilling or whatever it might be, you're not really in a position to say that you feel necessarily stuck. Okay, so I think the gist of what I've been telling people is, first off, you need to find exactly what it is that's going to light a fire inside of you, something that you're passionate about, something that excites you, something that you're going to fucking be buzzing, waking up every morning and literally be excited to go to bed and wake up the next day for as well. So once you have that sort of first thing established, you can then reverse engineer it in terms of, right, I know what that thing is. I know what it is that I want to do with my life. And again, just providing that sort of purpose, which I think is why a lot of people are unhappy with their lives, where they lack that purpose because they feel stuck in that never-ending cycle of working a job they don't necessarily enjoy to pay bills, etc. So once you've got that first thing sort of established, reverse engineer it in terms of where you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, etc. And be like, right, what's the first step towards working towards that thing? Because there's obviously no point in you just jumping in the deep end at the very beginning, quitting your job and then, putting yourself at financial risk. It's not that there's no point, but it's obviously very, very risky. But the first step is just, you are going to have to eat shit a little bit and then sacrifice your free time and your downtime towards working towards this thing that you're ultimately passionate about, because the ultimate goal right there is for that to take over your main source of income. But in terms of, for myself, like, fulfillment is not really anything that I necessarily experienced for the first sort of 23 years of my life. It wasn't until I got into the health and fitness industry that I was like, fuck me, this is like, I'm excited to get up every day. I'm excited to do this for a living. I'm excited to actually work. Like, I've spoken a little bit about how I was a little shit back in school. I was late constantly. I never thought of myself as a morning person. I struggled to get out of bed and just get up and get shit done. I'm now in a position where because I love doing what I do, I'm up very, very early. And I'm going to bed looking forward to getting up as well, which is a brand new experience for me. The sort of the validation side of things for me is one that I'm embarrassed to speak about it, because there's a massive sense of guilt and shame in terms of how I sought after validation when I was younger. I think in my late teens and then early 20s, it was kind of like, I've spoken a lot about kind of, I lived in the party lifestyle. It was like surrounded around drinking drugs. One thing that I do struggle to speak about is what kind of not what happened alongside that, but just basically what I got up to most weekends in terms of how I sought after that validation. And I think it was basically just me going out every weekend and sleeping around, essentially. And it was a little bit of a double whammy, because it was kind of, I honestly don't know really what caused it. It might have just been a case of like, I didn't have any experience with women. I never had a girlfriend. I was never in a relationship. I never really got that kind of level of attention. And then when I got into my sort of later adolescence, just before I hit my 20s, I was going out all the time and then getting that attention, and I kind of just rolled with it, I guess. I would be lying if I said it didn't make me feel good about myself to some extent, which again is embarrassing to kind of admit. But again, it's me holding my hands up and sort of just admitting the kind of person that I was. As I said, it was a bit of a double whammy, because it was me doing something that to some extent made me feel good about myself at the time, but then also made me feel very shit about myself as well. And that was kind of, up until I got into my first relationship, kind of how I spent most weeks and weekends. And that's, again, where I got like fulfillment and validation. I was working a career that I didn't really see, as I said, I didn't really see a future in. It wasn't really providing me with much purpose or a mission. There was some dark moments, I guess, where it was kind of like a what the fuck's the point kind of mindset that I was trapped in. There was dark moments, which again is quite painful to admit, because I think about the person that I was in terms of how I lived my life and where I got that fulfillment, where I got that validation, and the direction that I was headed in. If I was to meet that same person now, I'd fucking want to help him. And I think that's kind of where the validation in terms of the fulfillment and the validation for what I do now, where that comes from. Because I'm not necessarily specifically helping people that fit in that same demographic that I was. But if we sort of just break down the feelings and emotions that I was experiencing at the time, in terms of, I was scared for my future. I certainly didn't like myself. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror, not just with my physique, but just in terms of like the actual kind of person that I was. And I was essentially wasting my life away, and I knew that. And I was choosing to do nothing about it and just go deeper into that hole. And I think back to that kind of person, and I'm like, I want to spend my life either helping people that are kind of not necessarily just trapped in that same pocket, but they are in a place where they have that same feeling. They feel trapped. They feel stuck. They feel like they've got absolute fuck all direction. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to change it. And I'll be honest, if I'm being like, it is a little bit selfish, but having that purpose and having that mission makes me feel fulfilled. Because now I do have that sense of direction. I'm not scared about the future because I know how I want to spend my life. And this is just referring back to those kind of messages I got back from the first podcast, where whether it is just through motivation, whether it is through inspiration, whether it is maybe just like I don't know, a little bit of lighting a fire from underneath your arse or something, if it can have that positive impact, or maybe just have a little bit of a light bulb moment where you realize that there's more to fucking life than just the whole work, pay bills, and feeling stuck and lost. And nothing will change until ultimately you change and you decide to do something about it. And I think my biggest bit of advice for anyone that feels stuck in that sort of lost position is decide what you fucking want to do. Really weird. I was a way to say that I was fortunate enough to have that sort of pinnacle moment where I hit rock bottom and then kind of had that mindset change. As I said, that pinnacle moment in my life was like the worst and the best thing that has ever happened to me, because it's what allowed me to basically sort my shit out. And I think ever since that moment, I've looked back at the kind of person I was, and I think for the first maybe couple of years, it was regret. I regretted how I spent my life, and I felt like it was wasted. And then there's part of me now that I don't know if it's just because I'm annoyingly positive, but I just kind of look back at that kind of life, and I'm like, well, if I never lived it like that, then I wouldn't be the person that I am now. And I think I need to be accountable with this shit. I need to hold my hands up, and it's why I want to be as honest and transparent on social media, on here, and just speak about the kind of person that I was, because if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I was a nice person. And fuck, I'm actually getting emotional. Holy shit. Grown-ass man. Yeah, I don't think I was a nice person. And I don't particularly enjoy thinking about it. But I think it's important to speak about. And I think it's important to speak about. I think it's important to be honest about the kind of person I was. And I think if me just being open and transparent and honest and holding my hands up and admitting to the kind of person that I was, and maybe speaking about how I turned my shit around, how I sorted my shit out, if that can help someone, then I'm fucking happy. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I got so emotional thinking about that. It's a tough one for me. I do like to think that I like to think that I'm an open and I'm honest and I'm transparent guy. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I don't like bigging myself up. I realize that in order to have an online service, you need to have an online presence and shit like that. And I need to kind of almost plaster my life on social media and shit like that, which was really difficult for me to begin with, because I was always a very not introverted person, but I've always been like a lone wolf kind of mentality. And sort of just putting my life out there was very difficult. I even have sometimes having a hard time speaking about like just the success side of things. And I think I'm a lot more confident just speaking about how much of a fucking little shit I was, and just speaking about the sort of negative things in my life, because I think that's where the value maybe comes from. That's where I can help spread that level of positivity, and I don't know, just have that sort of positive influence on others' lives. But yeah, the turning point for me in terms of just generally being happy and not feeling like I was stuck, not feeling like I was lost, and not just coming out of that dark place where, like, I remember being 20, I remember being 19 actually, and being scared about turning like 20 for the next 10 years, and not scared as in like, oh, what's life going to bring? Being scared as in just being stuck in the exact same place, because if I continue to live my life the way that I was, I don't think I would be stuck in the same place that I was. I think I'd be worse. And I think that's where a lot of people have that fear, where you feel stuck, you feel trapped, and you maybe don't think there's any progression, but that's only the case if you let it. Okay, but me just speaking from personal experience, I think if you're looking for if you're looking for validation in life, if you're looking for fulfillment, it's find that thing that fucking inspires you, find that thing that you're passionate about. And I mean, this doesn't have to work for everyone, but I think also helping people, whether that's people that have gone through the same shit that you have, whether that is helping people less fortunate than you. I don't know, there's obviously a certain element of selfishness there because it makes you feel better about yourself, but it's definitely providing me with it's what motivates me. It's what gets me out of the fucking bed every morning. And I think if I think about the kind of person that I was, how I live my life, and I'm incredibly grateful to be in a position now where it's the complete opposite, and I'm actually able to have a positive influence on people's lives rather than a negative one, which I might be being dramatic, but I personally feel that was the case for the vast majority of my life. But yeah, I think we'll wrap that episode up there, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. Well, I just randomly got emotional. Don't exactly know where that came from. This was obviously the sort of aim of the podcast. I want to speak to awesome people. I want to hear their inspiring stories, and hopefully give you guys like a little bit sort of value, motivation, inspiration from that as well. There might be the occasional sort of episode where I don't know, nobody can be speaking to me, so I'll just come on and do one by myself, whatever it might be. But yeah, hopefully, I hope that just me sort of kind of being open and honest and transparent about my life is providing some form of value for you in whatever way, shape or form, whatever's entertainment. Maybe laughing at me having a wee bubble there. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.